And James and Samantha are going to ask her questions to get more information. She got an eye, a clock, and an airplane. Oh, and I want to finish talking about the symbolism of clock and airplane before we go to the story, but just so James is caught up. She, with her eyes, she says she didn't see something. She was running out of time, and then she went on vacation and she started to see clearly this thing that she hadn't noticed before. That's her story. Does that give you a lot of information? No. No. So as a therapist, what are you going to do? Ask questions. And we have to get very comfortable in asking questions. That's our job. Because the questions is going to let the client answer them and tell us the details of what they're imagining in their head to be their reality. Okay? So let me just finish with the symbolism. So this is the symbolism of the eye. When you think of an eye, or you see the picture of an eye, what comes up to you? What's the symbolism mean?
The all-seeing eye.
Okay, the all-seeing eye. That's the one on the money. So everybody said something different. Okay? That's important. Your client is going to use a symbol, is going to tell you a story using symbols, just everyday words that mean to them. Just because you think something doesn't mean that that's what that client is thinking. That's where questions come into play. Mr. Pacha says this all the time. Can you define that? Or what does that mean to you? Okay, so I asked you guys, what does the eye mean to you? To see is just the basics that everybody sees the organ. This comes from health psychology. What's the function of the organ? To see. Someone watching you, you're not alone. Samantha. You weren't here on Tuesday, but we learned that she's never allowed to be alone. She was an in vitro baby, and her parents overprotect her. So this makes perfect sense that for her, Used to. Now the boyfriend overprotects her.
Now I'm allowed to sleep over at best friend's house. Before I wasn't allowed.
But for her, the I means this. But we wouldn't know that, why she would say that, unless we had some information. So that's where we get the questions. I said the money and the evil eye and the eye of Horus, and she found the eye of Horus. This is because this is mythology, and I'm all about mythology.
I love mythology.
Okay. So that's what the eye of Horus is. That's the all-seeing eye. I said money on the back of the dollar. That's all Freemasonry. That's all symbolism. Okay. So now we have an established language about what we're talking about. Okay? So if a client tells you a story and you don't know what they mean by something in the story, what are you going to do? Ask them. That's exactly what you're going to do. You just ask the question, what do you mean by that? Or what does the I mean to you? So once we establish that, then we know part of the story. The clock. What does the clock have to do with? What's the symbolism of the clock?
Didn't she say she was running out of time?
Right, for her, but I'm asking you guys. When you hear clock, what I want you to see is just because your client says something doesn't mean that the two of you are communicating.
Yeah.
Because to me, the clock means something completely different than it may mean to you. So I have to ask questions to clarify. However, Jungian psychology, certain symbols mean certain things in the collective unconscious. Yeah. The collective unconscious is where we all kind of tap into, and we all are connected to that sort of symbolism, and that's in our psyche. So we do have an element of symbolic sort of meaning and symbolic understanding, but you can clarify with your client. So what's a clock to you guys?
Time and efficiency.
Okay, time, efficiency. See, I would have never said that, but I understand you because I know what you're about. That makes perfect sense. What about you?
Time? I can't see anything else.
Okay, so for you it's time. What I think of is a few things. First of all, Saturn. Saturn in mythology is the god of time.
Okay.
where we're all running out of time. We're all forced to abide by time. Things start, things end. We only have a number of years of life. So this is something astrologically, being an astrologer, that makes sense to me. Oh, she's running out of time for something. That means that there's some deadline, or that means that there's something forced upon her. That would be Saturn. The other thing that comes up is Dali's painting. What is it? Persistence of Time? The one that the clocks are all
Oh,
All over the
melting.
place.
That also comes up for me. And something else that comes up for me is something in, I've told you guys this before, which is called Chronos
Oh yeah, you said that the first.
versus Kairos. Chronos is time. Kairos is opportune time. So, in this idea of time for me, there are times where time is just time and you just have to get to appointments and so forth. Other times in your life, you're beat down. Other times in your life are for learning lessons. When you're having a difficult time in life, the time is for you to learn something. It's one of the reasons that people refuge. It's one of the people that people become hermits. They don't go out, they don't socialize, because they're with themselves. Because when you're with yourself, you learn more about yourself. That's why people get depressed. And what's the number one symptom of depression? Hermitizing. You stay in your bed, you stay by yourself. Usually, unfortunately, it's a poor coping mechanism. But the reason is that opportune time, kairos, these are two Greek words. What they represent is if you have an opportunity to change and grow and learn something about yourself, don't mess it up. Don't lose the opportunity. And so many people do. So many people will sort of pilfer the opportunity to learn something because they're drinking, they're smoking, they're screwing around. This morning we were talking about a friend of ours who is going through a divorce. And instead of sitting with the pain, instead of learning from the opportunity, he's just whoring around. So he's distracting himself. And distractions are ways that we don't take time for opportunity. Okay, so all of that is what I see when I think of a clock.
Wow. Do I want to ask what she thinks of something else?
So you see that there's multiple meanings and a lot of symbols, and I have books on symbols here for that purpose. There's the book of symbols on the table, there's another symbol encyclopedia, because when you learn symbolism, this is very much Jungian analysis. That's why I talk about metaphor, symbol, ceremony, ritual. All of that is the language of the psyche. And most people, without knowing it, understand this. What's an airplane?
God, that's a lot.
What does the symbol of the airplane represent?
Get away.
Get away, okay.
Vacation.
Transportation.
Yeah, flying something.
Okay, to me it's freedom. Just the ability to be able to travel, because it represents, just for me, if I'm able to travel, that means financially I also have
Yeah.
some ability, and those things to me, getting away and money, represent freedom. Carmen, what about you?
Freedom.
Freedom, okay. So we all came up with some idea as to what these three symbols mean. So, knowing that she gave you this story, that has no detail, we're gonna now ask her, what can you start inferring just from the basic story she shared? I didn't see something, running out of time, I went on vacation, and then I saw clearly.
She's on a deadline.
What was that?
She's on a deadline.
Okay, she's on a deadline, and what does the deadline do?
She can drive me nuts.
Well, but going by her story, what are you inferring that she's trying to tell us? She shared this story with
Feeling
us.
rushed about something.
Okay, so she's feeling rushed, she's on a deadline, what else?
She's on vacation, so she wants to get away.
Okay, she wants to get away, what were you saying?
That she's not, like, she's going on vacation, but she's not relaxed because she's stressing about something that she didn't see coming and is obviously running out of time.
So you're saying that even though she's on vacation, she's still not relaxed?
Yeah, because she's thinking about it.
Okay, interesting. Okay, what else?
That would be.
She's talking about seeing something clearly now that she's on vacation.
I came in late, I'm just going.
No, I know, that's why I'm giving you the information. So now, when she went on vacation, she was able to see clearly what was going on.
She's been blinded.
She's been blinded. She's in a situation, now I'm just giving you me, okay? If time is Saturn, Saturn is limitation. There's a situation in which she's limited, that she's unable to see or deal with what's happening. And she must remove herself from that situation in order for her to sort of have a better assessment of how to solve the problem. That's what I'm hearing when this client says this story. Does that resonate with you guys?
Yes.
So there's a situation that has her binded. Binded, bound. So she is in some sort of situation. Our job, we need to find out what that situation is. Now, are we gonna ask her that?
Ask other questions around first. You don't want to directly say that.
Okay, either or.
I mean,
Either or. What would you do?
Just straight, like, what is it that you didn't see coming? You know, what is it that you're seeing clearly now?
Okay, so ask her.
What is it that you're seeing clearly now that you weren't before?
This is your story, so you have to answer the question. Because
That's
it's
a
the
true
only
story.
way.
Okay.
It's okay.
You said it's a true story.
Yeah.
Everything we say
This is a true
is a true story.
I thought you were saying better story.
Yes, but that's my point. Even if a client invents a story, we're always getting to the truth. The client may not know the truth, but our job is to get the truth out of them, even if they don't know it. Okay, so it's always a true story. You don't have to say that. Your client may not know. You can give them these dice, or this is the equivalent of a dream. When they come and say, I had a dream, and they make up this dream that makes no sense, and you start asking questions.
Oh God, I don't want to dream.
They have made up this dream in their head, and they've put together different parts and pieces of what has happened in their real life. So it's the same concept, but I want you guys to start asking questions. So what was the question?
From what? So when you were saying, what was it exactly that you were seeing clearly, that you are seeing clearly now?
A year ago, I had like no credit because I was 18. So, my mom has a friend that I say she's my auntie. Like, I treat her like an auntie because they know each other like for 27 years.
Mm-hmm.
So, she took me out a phone and a watch. And I was paying her monthly, like every month I would give her the money. It passed a year, and I think I was paying her too much and I passed the limit of the money. So this year, I was asking her how much I paid every month, because I was giving her more, like to finish faster.
Mm-hmm.
And I was asking her, and every time I asked her, she'd say, they was not giving her like the details of how much I paid because she took out the same phone and the same watch. And then this year, I went on vacation with her, and I saw that like she had a boyfriend, and her boyfriend is like way younger, and then she started buying him a phone in the same account that I am, and a watch, and I was like, okay, that's weird. I was like, how much again do I owe? So she was not like giving me full details about it. She was like, oh, you owe this and that. But then, like in the November, I went with her to change the phone under my name. I still didn't have any credit. And then they told me I owe a specific amount. And then when I asked her again, she's putting that I owe more amount than what the guy told me.
Okay.
And then I feel like I was like running out of time because I wanted to know and she was not telling me. So yesterday, I went to pass the phone under my name, and like everybody, you ask questions. I asked the girl, how much do I owe from my phone? Because she told me like I owe a lot. And I was like, that phone was not so expensive. And then yesterday, I got to know that my phone was already paid out. In my watch, I only owe like one something, and she said that I owe a lot more. So that's the story.
So how does that, how does exactly does that make you feel, knowing that you actually found that truth out?
But I feel, I don't know how to say it.
Say it in Spanish.
Traicionado.
Betrayed.
Betrayed.
Like, mi confianza la,
Your trust.
yeah.
And I can definitely understand.
You said auntie, so you implied that was a family member that shouldn't have screwed you.
No, she was not my family.
Yeah, I know, I
Yeah.
just.
But the
But they've
sentiment
known each
of-
other
Mom's best,
27
mom's
years.
best friends are, yeah.
Have you
For my mom,
spoke about
I
it?
know.
Have you spoke about any of this with your mom?
Well, my mom heard.
Okay, but why are you asking the question? What's your hypothesis?
Well, because she feels betrayed. It's your mom's best friend, and I personally think it's always better to handle like within the inner circle type thing.
Yeah.
But what is your hypothesis? When you ask that question, why are you asking it? What do you assume
An
is the
To make sure,
answer?
to make sure that she has someone like
Support.
so like
Support,
some
yeah.
type of like support at home
Okay,
with
perfect.
the situation
Okay.
versus
An
being
outlet.
like feeling like alone and not knowing where to go from here.
Okay.
And that's why she's talking to me.
Okay.
Well, my mom used to tell me to check more than anything because she knows that she had those, she did something for her and it was about money,
In the past.
and then she knows she was like stealing from her, because I think that's stealing. And then,
So you never kept track, you let her tell you what you owed?
yeah.
You
And
never
I was
wrote
like
anything
paying
down?
her. No, because I told her I told her I'm gonna pay you like 200 every month. My bill was not 200, I know that. And then she used to tell me that my bill was 187. I was like, my phone is not the last phone. And then she was like,
Oh, you didn't buy the newest one, you bought one of the older ones.
it was the 8 Plus. It
But
was
you
like-
knew that you were paying too much.
I told her I'm gonna pay you this because I wanna finish faster.
Right.
A year passed, and then she never told me. Like, I was like, okay, it's been like 200 every month, and it passed a year. That's like 2,000 something. A phone doesn't cost 2,000.
So what do you
Right.
think she did with what are
Well,
you saying that,
But we're not asking,
No,
what do we think she did with money?
yeah, I was.
Where, oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, what was your inference that you think she was,
She was paying her phone and my phone.
exactly,
And
that's
her
what I was gonna
boyfriend's
say.
phone.
And her boyfriend's phone.
She was paying
I'm trying to sneak in the boyfriend's phone right after too.
Making her, basically cover her payments.
Right, so let's just go back. When we ask a question, we have to have a hypothesis. And we have to assume sort of what the answer is, but that's therapeutic.
Yeah.
It's an intervention. So you asked her if her mom supported her or knew about this or
Well,
what?
that was, you asked what was the reasoning behind my question if she's asked her mom.
Right, okay, so answer the question.
Did I ask my mom?
Like, have you talked to your mom about the
Well,
situation?
my mom was the one that told me. So I called yesterday and I told her I want to pass the line under my name. And I had the phone on speaker. And I was asking the lady, I'm like, do I open the phone? And she told in front of my mom, your phone is paid off. And then my mom was like, oh, I told you, you see? She was like,
Okay, so
So
now
she
where do you
knew
go
it.
from there?
So I told you not to trust her, but so now
Okay,
you're out all
but we
this
don't
money.
know if the mom said that.
Well, she
Well, yeah,
told
Yeah,
her,
she
I
just
told
said
you.
That's what she.
No, she said, I told you, but we don't know if the mom is ending a relationship with this person because of the,
Well, I
No,
don't,
no,
I
no.
don't think so because it already happened to her mom once in the past and she's still best friends.
well, she's
Right,
not going
so-
to her house that much anymore.
So,
okay, but they're still
When
friends.
something happened, like something really bad happened.
But she had done this before, so
Exactly.
why, I'm speaking as a mother, why would she let you go into
That's
some kind of
exactly what I was gonna
negotiation
say.
with this woman?
Okay, so, when she asks
Because I
that
was hard-headed.
question, oh, you were hard-headed.
Yeah, I was like, I need the phone. Like, I want the phone because I was working, so I wanted the phone.
Okay, so she's taking the responsibility rather than,
Why didn't your mom just keep you pregnant?
okay,
Because my
Well,
mom
then
but
didn't
that's-
have
this
it.
isn't,
Yeah, that's.
this isn't
Yeah,
like
yeah.
providing,
Yeah,
we have to think therapeutically.
Yeah, I know.
Okay,
She's-
there's a
I'm thinking the same question
situation.
too, but I can't. I was like, you
And
can't.
that's what happens as a therapist.
Yeah, no, you can't
Of
do
course
that.
they end up
you're
asking
thinking,
you.
of course
They end
you're
up asking
thinking
you
those
anyway.
questions.
I know.
Of course, you're like,
Yeah,
well,
no,
why the
you-
hell? And when you develop a relationship
Then you
with
can
a
ask the
client,
question, yeah.
okay, then you can be like, what the hell? Or you refer back to a previous session and
Yeah.
go, oh, well, remember, if she made you
Yeah.
do this, this, and this, well, of course she'd let you be screwed over. And that's actually something that happened with Carmen. The core of her issue is this.
Mhm.
So we'll get to that in a second. But she now has a relationship with her, I mean, are you seeing this? She has a relationship with her mother's friend, yet her mother is, in an essence, blaming her, but she is taking the responsibility. She has assumed the responsibility. Is it appropriate that your client assume the responsibility in this situation?
Yes,
Why?
because she was afforded the opportunity and okay, did your mom like warn you about it?
Prior.
And that's what, prior, and then you said, I don't care, I need my phone.
She said in church about money.
So yes, if she takes responsibility, I think we're onto something. Because
But-
before, she literally, her mom said, hey,
You
don't
saw
do
what
this.
happened last
Like,
time.
you saw what happened to me, like, don't do this, don't
Okay.
trust her. And then she was like, nope, I want it, I did it,
Now, let me
and
just
then once she
Throw
did
a
it-
twist.
Okay.
First session. You need to validate and you need to create empathy and a rapport with the client. Does that change your opinion? And I don't know if it does. I'm just
And
Well,
asking.
no,
And that's
because
not the point.
I feel like the first step to any, like, bettering yourself is acknowledgement. You have to recognize it. That's like the first
Yeah,
step.
but she's saying if you
Awareness.
just
Is
met the
awareness,
client.
right? So she's aware that, like, it's on me. Like, I know why I'm in this position. I was literally warned, and I still, like, I
Okay,
needed my phone.
but
I wanted
now
my
I
phone.
want you to think bigger picture.
No, I understand where you're coming from as far as the validation goes. I just feel like the awareness is the first step to achieving that.
She agrees with you, but she's saying
Okay.
awareness
That's all I'm
comes
saying.
after.
Well, no, I think it's great that what you've identified in your client is that they have awareness. That's gonna make your work with the client easier. But I want you to think bigger picture. What do we know about children and their parents?
Is that we're constantly trying to
We have their qualities.
We have their qualities and we're trying to constantly what?
seek validation from them?
Okay?
She wanted to
And-
prove that she could do it without her mom, and that.
No. What you're observing in the client is that she's taking the blame. She's saying,
the
this
first
is
session.
my fault.
Is that
So what are
validation?
you seeing in the dynamic of mother, father, child? The child is taking the blame for mom. Do you see that? You're not wrong, but it's your first session. You're trying to get a big picture.
Yeah, you can't just tell the client, yeah, you're right, your fault, you're screwed. You
Right,
can't do
get
that.
out of here and
Because
see
she
ya.
will not
Well,
come
no,
back.
doesn't quote that.
She's in therapy.
Awareness.
She's in therapy because there's a deeper issue. But it's your first session. Your idea in the first session doesn't mean you're going to tackle it.
Right.
You can talk about the fact that she didn't, taking responsibility, and you can validate that and go, that is great. Do you know that in therapy, the first thing is awareness, and it shows that you're so mature and you're aware and blah, 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 and validate the hell out of her. Great. Now she loves you, she wants to come back. The core issue is going to come out 6 months down the road, maybe. Before I found out her core issue, she sat in this class for how many months?
How often would we see the client? Like once?
Usually
Less-
weekly.
yeah.
My practice is different, but typical weekly. If you're in psychoanalysis, it could be up to 3 or 4 times a week. That's very rare, but it exists. And sometimes people, I at one point went twice a
Like
week.
what's normal, what's common?
Common is weekly, once a week.
Okay.
That's the typical. Okay. Sometimes people will go twice a
Sometimes
week
you go
if they're
twice.
in a major crisis.
Right.
So when I was going through my first cancer, I went twice a week. Because it was a crisis state. But usually, typically once a week. So it might take you 6 months, but you need to create a hypothesis from this session today. That's what I want to hear from you. What are you seeing that she's not saying? Forget the situation of the phone. Go bigger. If you know that there's mother, father, child, and there's a wrong alliance, there has to be an alliance with one of the parents. She has to have an alliance with her mother, or she has to have an alliance with her father. Do you remember when I pulled you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay? That alliance exists. Who is her alliance with?
Her father.
Why?
I don't feel like she's aligned with her, though.
Why don't you think she's aligned with the mom? Talk it out.
Well, her rebellious state from the beginning of when she got warned, and
She still decided to do it anyway.
yeah, and I don't know.
Can I justify the alliance that we have in her situation? Am I correct to say that it's mother, child, and best friend? Is that?
Well, that's the
Oh, I see.
triangulation, if you're thinking of triangulation. But
Yeah.
then who does the best friend represent? The best friend has to represent mother or father.
It has to be father
Every
because the mother's
single,
there.
exactly.
So
Exactly.
the best friend has
So
to
if you're
represent father.
triangulating a situation, you've got Carmen, you've got mom, and you've got the best friend. Who is the best friend, mother or father?
Father.
There has to be something in this person's life where the father is triangulated. And we know this about her because she shared with us. And it's sad and unfortunate. But you're not going to know that she was abused in her first session. She probably won't say it, like she sat here for months. So we can see that her alliance is with her mom. And why do we know this? Because she's defending her mom.
Right. She
My
tried to tell
mom
me.
told me not to do it. And what was the mom's response?
I told you.
I told you so. So we know that the relationship with her and her mother is about her taking the blame and the mother saying,
Or her being the adult and her mother saying, told you, I don't know anything, I can't
could
do
you see
anything."
that?
She was dating a child.
Can you see that though? Can you see that, the big picture? Even though you're not going to talk about it in this session. Or you may ask questions about what happened in your childhood. That's up to you. So we already have the alliance here. And what Ms. Rapace was pointing out was perfect. If there's a third person in a situation, I want you guys to start thinking this way. That person in your life is your mother or your father. If you have betrayal, or if you have someone that's distant or something, who does that represent to you? Mother or father?
Father.
Your father, because he's the one who had that behavior. If we are able to get out of the story